You're live.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for this fun art project today. My name is Miss Amy and we're going to create this fun, colorful desert sunset one-point perspective drawing. So let's start out by going through the supplies you'll need for this project. One, you'll need some drawing paper. White drawing paper would be great. You'll need a pencil and an eraser, a black Sharpie, a ruler, and some colorful markers. Hopefully you have quite a good selection because you will need to use different shades of green and some different shades of the same color. So a good collection of markers would be great. All right, so let's get started on this project. And we're going to start by having our paper in the landscape direction because we are creating a landscape. So we're going to start out and we're going to take our pencils and we're going to draw our horizon line. Our horizon line is that line that separates the sky and the earth. So when we look off in the distance, it kind of looks like they're meeting, and that's where we're going to draw our horizon line. So I'm just going to draw a line across the center of my paper or about. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm not using a ruler for that one because the earth isn't always perfectly straight. So can kind of show the uneven ground in my land there. So next I want to create the part of my picture here where my road disappears in the distance, and that is called the vanishing point. And so we're just going to find about the center of our paper and we're just going to draw a dot on our line. That's going to be our vanishing point, and we're going to use that to set up some guidelines too for this. So next you want to take your ruler and we're going to make the straight lines that create not only guidelines for us, but also the sides of our road. So we're going to put one end of our ruler right across our vanishing point and the other end of our ruler. I usually start by the very center corner, but I like to bring it in just a little bit because I don't want my road to go all the way to the corner. You could do it to the corner if you wanted. That's perfectly fine. I like to have just a little space there, so I'm going to slide mine in just a little bit. And then you want to hold your ruler with one hand so it doesn't move around, and then just trace along the edge of that ruler. And now you have a nice straight line there. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Put the top of your ruler on your vanishing point. Put the other side to the corner. And now you can do it there or slide it in just a little bit. Just make sure the other end is still on your vanishing point. Hold your ruler down with your hand and then trace along the edge of the ruler. And now I have two nice guidelines as well as the nice straight edge to my road. So now I need to make two more guidelines on the top. And on these guidelines, I'm not going to push so hard on my pencil because I do need to erase those guidelines later. So I'm going to put one edge of my ruler on my vanishing point and the other one up to the corner of my paper. And I'm just going to lightly trace. Hopefully you can see that. And oh yeah, good. Because I'm going to erase that later. I don't need that line in there later. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. One end of your ruler on your vanishing point and the other one to the corner of your paper. And just real lightly trace along there. Awesome. Then we can put our rulers aside because we're not going to need those anymore. And next we want to start drawing our landscape on our paper. Oh, wait, we do need our rulers one more time. I forgot. See, if you notice in the final picture here, we have the center lines of our road. And we do want to make sure those are nice and straight. So we will need to use our ruler for that. So put your ruler on the vanishing point and then straight down off the edge of your paper. We want those lines to be nice and straight. So what I'm going to do is start at my vanishing point and just draw a little tiny line. Then I'm going to make a little space and draw a line that's just slightly bigger, slightly longer. Get a little bit of space there and just draw a little bit longer. So as you can see, the farther away they vanish into the distance, they're going to be smaller, and they're going to gradually get bigger the lower I go on my paper, or the closer that it gets to me. So I'm going to go ahead and continue that. Draw a little bit longer, give some space, a little bit longer, give some space, a little bit longer, give some space, and then right off the bottom of my paper. Now, what you can do with these, since I want them to look like they're painted lines, is you can actually put your ruler next to those lines and create a parallel line for each one. And a parallel line is just a line next to a line that doesn't cross over. So I'm just going to use my ruler. I'm just going to make those parallel lines all the way to match each one of the lines I created. Now, to finish this off, I'm going to actually make a little line. I'm going to close those lines by giving them ends. And now I look like I have painted lines on my road. Little tiny ones. There we go. Now we won't need our rulers anymore. We'll set those aside. All right. Next, we're going to start by drawing our things that are far away in our distance. So our sun, and then some mountains, and then we'll start on our cacti. So I'm going to go to my vanishing point and just go over to the left a little bit. And then I'm going to start, and I'm going to draw a half of a circle, like an arc, like a rainbow shape. And I'm going to stop on when I get to a little to the right of my vanishing point. So this is going to be my sunset. So it looks like you're driving into the sunset. All right, so I want to add some mountains in the background to give my picture some interest. So I'm going to start, I'm going to go a little bit past the edge of my sun where it stopped. And I'm just going to start a line, start on my horizon line. And I'm just going to draw a curved line, any shape you want, curve, big or small, and end at the edge of my paper, right off the edge of my paper. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to go in just a little bit from the edge of my sun and go off the edge of my paper, just like that. Now, where I live, it's somewhat of a desert area, and we have mountains that have no trees on them at all. So I'm not going to put any trees on my mountains. They're just going to be big, bare mountains. All right, so now I'm going to draw some cacti, which means more than one cactus. So I believe it's that way. It could be, I'd have to look that up. I always get the two mixed up. So anyway, we are going to draw several cactuses. I'll just say cactuses. So when we draw our cactus, we're going to make sure that our cactus stays within our guidelines. And that way we know we'll get the perspective or the right size at the right place on our picture. So when I draw a cactus here, between these two part of the guidelines, that means my cactus is closer to me. And those that are drawn here where the guidelines are closer together, the cactus is going to be smaller, so it's going to look like it's farther away from me in the distance. So to draw my first cactus, I'm going to come down here near the bottom of my paper and just draw a line across to represent the bottom of my cactus. And then I'm just going to go up, and I don't have a lot of room on this side, so I'm not going to make any arms of my cactus on this side for this project. So I'm just going to draw a straight line up. Now, what you want to make sure is that you don't go over the guideline. You can stay under the guideline a little bit, but never go over the guideline. So I'm going to just stay right underneath of it. And then I'm going to just curve it around. Now, your cactus doesn't have to be perfectly straight, because they're kind of bumpy and different shapes sometimes. So then I'm just going to curve this arm around and come straight back down. Now, I have some lines inside my cactus, and those are the lines for my background. I want to make sure that my cactus looks like it's in front of the mountain. So I'm going to go ahead and erase those lines in the middle of my cactus. And so then my cactus looks like it's in front of the mountains. There, that's what you need the eraser for, erase those lines. All right, so I'm going to draw another cactus on here, but it's a little farther away. So I'm going to go farther up along my road and just draw a straight line across. But I'm going to make it a little smaller than this one because it is farther away, so it's going to be smaller. And then I'm going to start at the left side and draw straight up. And this one I'm going to give 2 arms to. So I'm going to make a little arm coming out here and back up and make sure I don't go over my guideline. And then I'm going to make another little arm right here and then come back down. And again, I'm going to erase those lines inside my cactus so that it looks like it's in front of my mountains. All right. And now I'm going to draw some cactuses on this side of my road. And I'm going to draw one, maybe not as close down on this side. I kind of want to put them in different places just to make my picture look a little more balanced and a little more interesting to look at. So I'm going to start maybe about right here and draw a line straight across. Now it's going to be a little bit bigger than this line, but a tiny bit smaller than that line because it's a little bit farther away. And let's see, I think I'll put a couple arms in this cactus. So I'm going to go up, but I'm going to put one kind of low this time. That's what I like about cactus is you can make them pretty much any shape. You don't even have to give them arms. You could give them 2 or 3 arms or no arms at all. So I'm going to do 2 on this one. So I'll come back down and go up. Now I'm not going to go past that guideline, but I can stay under it. So I'm going to stay under that guideline and draw another little arm up here at the top and then come straight back down to my bottom there. And again, erase those lines inside my cactus. So it looks like it's in front of my mountain. All right. So now I have 3 cactuses all together, but I want to add a couple more because I still have a little bit of space, and so I want to add some more. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to make one kind of way far down the road. So I'm going to come up here and make a little line, definitely smaller than that one right here because it's farther away. And I'm just going to come straight up, and I think I'm only going to give this cactus 1 arm. So I'm going to come up, 1 arm, not go over my guideline, then come back down. And then I'm going to erase inside the cactus. Get rid of those lines. It looks like it's in front of my sun and in front of my mountains. So I want to add another. See, it looks pretty balanced to me. I've got 2 on each side, but these are a little bit smaller than these are pretty big. So I'm going to add another one. I have a little space right here, and this will just make it look nice too. And I'm going to put him way in the distance. So he's going to be a really tiny cactus. So I'm going to come down here. And because he's so far away, I don't have to use my guidelines this time. I used my guidelines for these cactuses because these ones were along my road and to get the proper perspective. This one's not along my road. It's just far away in the distance. So I'm just going to make them really small. So I'm going to give him a couple arms and then come back down and then erase the line inside that cactus there. All right. Now you could add a few more if you wanted. I think I'm going to stop there because I really like how this looks. But you could add a couple more little cactuses in here if you wanted. Now for the sky, you can erase those guidelines. Once you have your cactuses all in there, you can erase those guidelines because we won't need those anymore. You can go ahead and erase those. And because you wrote real lightly with that pencil, they should erase really well so you can't really see them anymore. Oops. There we go. All right. So what I want to do now is I want to make it look like my cactus are actually on the ground. Right now, it kind of looks like they're just floating there. So to make them look like they're a little bit on the ground, I'm going to start underneath my cactus. Just draw that straight line. I'm just going to stretch that straight line out a little bit. just like that. And I'm going to do that with each one of my cactuses, right? Just a little bit. And this side, I'm going to go, and you can start on one side and go to the other side, just however you like to, just stretch that line out. And that kind of makes it look like it's sitting on the ground and not floating in the air or on your paper. And then I'm going to add some other lines in between here. So I'm going to add just a line here, maybe here, because this is a desert. There's not a lot of grass. It's more like dirt and sand. So I'm going to make it look like it's like dirt and sand. So what you want to add to your lines to make it a little more interesting is you can add some rocks. And just make sure that the rocks that you do that are lower on your paper, they're closer to you, so they need to be a little bit bigger. So I might put a big rock here, and then I might back here draw a little bit smaller one. And you can just draw a little curved, jaggedy line to represent a little rock. Your rock can be smoother and round, or it can have some little, like it could be a more jaggedy rock. So I'm going to do some smaller ones on this line back here, maybe a couple there. And this line, I'm not going to put any. You just make it kind of random. And then I'm going to put some right here, and then a couple, maybe one here, and then maybe a couple of little ones back here. And there, now it looks like more like a desert. Looking good. And then before we start coloring, one more thing we need to add to our cactuses is they have lots of thorns. And if you can see in this picture here, they have some thorns on them, and I drew on those. So what we need to do is I'm going to start with a bigger one, and my thorns are going to be a little bit bigger on this one that's closer. And as I get farther away, they're going to be smaller. So I'm just going to draw short lines randomly all over my cactus. So just short little lines here. They can be sticking off your cactus. They can be in the middle of your cactus, and they're going every which direction. Just kind of make them random there. And that's going to look like they're thorny, and they have thorns all over. Even though we're not drawing a thorn in every single little area of our cactus, like a real cactus might have, this gives our viewers an idea that, oh, that's a cactus that has lots of thorns. So it appears like they're all over. Okay, so I'm going to do that to each one. Now this one I'm going to make him a little smaller because he is farther away. Just kind of random all over. And this takes a few minutes. But in art, sometimes when we create something really cool, it takes a little bit of effort. There we go. And some really smaller ones on this one. And tiny ones on the little one. They can almost look like little dots because they're so far away. They might not even look like little lines, but little dots. And then this one's a little closer. So this is going to be a little bit bigger, but not quite as big as this one over here on the other side, because he's really close to us on the road. All right, so when you get done with this, drawing those little thorns on your cactus, you're going to take a black Sharpie and you're going to trace all your pencil lines with a black Sharpie. This will just make everything stand out, and then it's makes it easier when you're coloring also. Helps you have a nice boundary for your colors. And it just looks really nice. And everything's outlined in black. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. I just like to because I think it looks really cool. But it can be optional if you don't want to take the time to do this. Because it does take a few minutes to trace over all those pencil lines, especially all those little thorn ones that you just got done drawing. But when you draw first with the pencil, it just allows you to erase. If you have some lines that you don't really want, you can erase them. You can't erase a permanent marker. So that's why we start with the pencil. Now, as your skills in art grow, you can start drawing with a Sharpie because you'll be a lot more confident in your drawing. You'll be able to just draw with a Sharpie. All right, get the ones over on this side. The reason I use Sharpie for this is because it dries permanent, and when you color other markers over it, it will not smear. If you use a water-based marker or washable marker to outline, when you actually go to color with your other markers, it'll make the color black will smear a little bit or blend in. And that's the reason I use a Sharpie. I like Sharpies though. They're one of my favorites. All right, so when you're done tracing all those lines, see how much more it just pops? You can see it so much better too. I'm going to go through and erase any pencil lines that I missed. Sometimes when you're tracing, you kind of get off the line a little bit. No big deal. We'll just erase those out of the way. So then it makes our picture look really nice. All right, so now we get to start coloring our picture. So we are going to get our markers out here. Let me pull all my markers out. Oh, wait, I can just do it this way. So I'm going to start with my lighter colors in my sky first because this is my sun and my sun is pretty bright. So I'm going to do all my just like in the example here, I use my lightest color first, then my next, then I got a little darker, a little darker, a little darker, and the darkest. So that's the order you want. The closer you are to the sun, the lighter your colors are, and then the farther away, the darker it is. So we are going to start with some yellow. I'm going to use this golden yellow color, and I'm going to color in my sun. We just want to color in nice to get so we don't have a lot of that white paper showing through. So we want to color around the sun and we want to go in the direction our horizon line is, so back and forth across our paper. different parts of our picture we're going to color in different directions. But this one we're going to go across. And you don't need to draw a color across in a straight line. I haven't really ever seen a sunset where it's perfectly straight lines in the sky. Kind of random. So you can just kind of random add your color in there. Maybe just a little bit of yellow over there. Okay, and that's all the yellow I'm going to add. Now I'm going to get my next color, which I'm going to use an orange. So I'm going to pull out my orange here. And I'm going to add above my yellow, but I'm going to take my orange into my yellow a little bit. So I'm going to color into my yellow a little bit so that I don't have a lot of white showing through. So I'm going to add some orange here, going across my paper in the direction of my horizon line. You might have a little orange peeking over there. So I'm going to do this all the way across. And I'm not going to do it in a straight line, even though I am going across my paper. All right, so the other step I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw just some orange lines in my yellow, just a little bit. Kind of feel like they're blending together. There we go. And you can even add a little bit of orange on your sun if you want, just to break it up a little bit. That's totally up to you. All right. Now I'm going to add my next color, and I think I'm going to use this reddish color. I think this is just regular red. Yep. All right, so then I'm going to do the same thing I did with my orange. I'm going to color my red above my orange and into my orange a little bit, making sure I'm not doing a perfectly straight line across, but going in the direction of my horizon line. Now, when I color, I usually use shorter strokes close together. And with a marker, you don't have to push very hard. Your color will actually come out a little better if you don't push down hard. If you push down lightly, the color is so much nicer. All right. And then I'm going to go through and do the same thing. I'm going to draw a few red lines inside my orange just to kind of make them blend a little bit there. There. And then I'm going to go to my next color, which I think I'm going to use like a purplish red color, almost like a violet. It's kind of a, or a fuchsia. It's kind of a reddish purple color, and that's going to be my next one. So I'm going to go right above my red, and I'm going to make just a little stretch of that color. Ooh, that's going to be so pretty. Kind of do the same idea, making sure I go into my red a little bit so that I don't have white showing through. And then I'm going to draw some lines in my red. Just some lines just straight across, just randomly there. There we go. And now I'm going to get my, I think I'm going to do a purple this time. Make a purple color here. So I'm going to grab my purple and I'm going to do a little bit of purple and go right down into that really pretty, almost like a magenta color I used. Color real lightly into that color a little bit so that I don't have white showing and they overlap a little bit. right, and then I'm going to do just a couple little purple lines inside that magenta color I did. There we go. And then I'm going to use a really dark midnight blue. That's going to be my darkest color and my last color that I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and just color that really dark blue into the rest, overlapping my purple. Just go all the way, filling that rest of that white there. My night sky. It's a sunset. This is the darker part. This is farther away from the sun. Going down into my purple just a little bit. Making sure that I color in the direction of my horizon line. Making sure I cover up all my paper so I don't have white paper showing through. All right, and then I'm going to draw a couple little lines in my purple. That blue, it's going to make it look cool, like it's blending in a little bit. There we go. Awesome. That looks beautiful. All right, so next we're going to work on our mountains, and then we'll do our ground and then our road and cactus. So I'm going to start with a lighter brown, kind of a regular lighter brown, and then I'm going to use a really dark brown, kind of as a shadow on my mountains. If you don't have a light and a dark brown, just use a regular brown, and then you can always add a shadow with like a dark purple or a purple color. That would work out fine too. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by coloring in my mountains. Now I'm going in the same direction as my horizon line for my mountains. All right, and I'm going to color my desert the same color. I mean, if you have an even lighter brown, you could color your desert even lighter if you wanted. Let's see if I have a lighter brown that would. This is a very light brown, a tan. You could use that on your desert if you wanted something just a little bit lighter even. You could do that, or you could just use your regular brown that you used on your mountains. Either way would work. And then we'll add a little shadow, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm not going to color my rocks the brown color. I'm going to color them a darker color because they're creating little shadows. As we're seeing the back side of the rock, the sun is actually shining on the other side of the rock. And then when you're coloring your desert, make sure to go the direction of your horizon line again, because that's the direction the land goes. So I'm going to color all of that. I like having these nice thick dark lines with the black Sharpie because it gives me a great border or boundary to color within. And then if you slightly go over, the black hides your marker. That's another trick. Okay, so finish that up. Just make sure that you, when you color, that you're covering all of your white, not having any white paper show through as best as you can. All right, so I'm going to do the other side. We are getting close to being finished with this. It's okay if you slightly go in your cactus a little bit. We are going to color those, so that will hide that tiny bit of marker that got inside there. So no worries if you colored inside your cactus just a little bit. It's no big deal. All right, so got the brown. So now I'm going to take my really dark brown and I am going to add some shadow. So I'm going to actually color the inside of my mountain, but I'm not going to color all the way to the edge. I'm going to leave the edge showing. And it looks like the light then is reflecting off my mountain. This is the same thing we're going to do with the cactus too. We're going to just color 2 different colors on the cactus, leaving the edges showing. And it looks like the sun is reflecting off of them, off the edges. So we're going to do that on the other side. Leave the edge showing. And the edge showing on that side. Okay, and then I'm going to color my little rocks, this dark brown too. And you can also, no, I think we'll use black for that. Never mind. We're going to put that away. We are going to start our cactus now. So we want to take a lighter green to color our cactus with. And I'm going to use this really pretty yellow green color. So now this way, I'm not going to color across the direction of my horizon line. I'm going to color up and down because that's the direction that my cactus are growing. So I'm going to color it that direction. And so I'm going to color all of them this really pretty yellow green, light green color first. Again, if you don't have 2 shades of green, a light and a dark green, you can go ahead and color your cactus green and then use like a blue to create your shadow on your cactus, or even a dark brown, or even a purple too would work. But hopefully you have 2 different shades of green because it just looks really cool that way. And now that you know how to do 1-point perspective, you could do this, but you could make our water like a river. You could make a city street with buildings on the side. You could be creative with this. Create your own. You could do animals on the side. All right, so now I have a light green in there. I'm going to take my darker green and I'm going to color inside over the light green, but I'm going to leave the edges showing. So I'm not going to color right up to the edge. I'm just going to color close to the edge, but not quite all the way to the edge. And that's going to look like my sun is reflecting off of my cactus. But at the bottom, you're going to go all the way to the bottom because that's kind of the shadow that wouldn't create that light along the bottom because the cactus is directly in contact with the ground and the sun can't get through there. So that's why that would be dark green all the way to the bottom. But all around the edges, the sun can reflect off of those cactus there. We're going to do that with each one. And even the one tiny far in the distance. I think this looks really cool. All right, so we're going to color our road next. And our road is, I'm just going to use a gray color for my road to represent the pavement of the road. And I'm going to color the direction the road is going. So I'm going to follow those lines and just color that direction of my road. And I'm going to go ahead and leave my stripes white in the middle of my road. Or you could color them yellow, depending on what road you're driving on. It could be either way. And I'm just going to go the direction of my road. We are close to being done with this one. I hope you're super happy with how yours is turning out. I'm sure it looks fantastic. I like all the colors in this project. Nice bright colors. You could do this with crayons, also the same idea. You could use colored pencils even if you wanted. I just like how markers look because they're nice and bright, especially for the sky, that sunset sky. My gray seems to be running out a little bit. I'm just to make sure I'm coloring real lightly instead of pushing down hard on my marker. And the last thing we're going to add, after we get this road finished, we're going to add some shadows. Because when that sun is setting, it's the cactus are creating shadows on the ground. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And that's our final step to creating this beautiful sunset, desert sunset. So I'm going to go ahead and just use black for this one, this dark shadow. So actually underneath each of my little stones, I might just scribble a little bit of line for a shadow. I'm just barely adding a little bit of black under those little rocks. I'm going to do the same thing with my mountain. Just a little bit of shadow underneath here where it's creating a shadow. It's far away, so it's not very much. If we were closer to these mountains, the shadow would be longer. But we're far away, so we just see a little bit of the shadow. Okay, so now these are the fun shadows that we're going to add to our cactuses. So what we need to do is we're going to follow these guidelines along the side of our road. Okay, so we're going to go those directions because that's the direction our cactuses are. So I'm going to start with my smallest, this one here. And I'm just going to make little scribble lines back and forth because my ground is not perfectly smooth. It probably has little bumps and the dirt's causing little bumps. So I'm just going to scribble and I'm going to go the direction of my road, follow that guideline. And then I have a little arm sticking out. Make that little arm. So there's the one shadow. And this one in the distance is just going to have a tiny one because he's so far away. We're not going to see much of that shadow there. All right. And then this one, I'm going to follow the guideline. So I'm going to color along that guideline. And he's kind of longer. It's a longer shadow because he's closer to us so we can see it. So I'm going to actually go off the edge of my paper there. And then I'm going to add the little arm. So he's got one little arm down here. And then one up high. So one that's up high like that. And then this one, we're going to follow the road on this side. So you can turn your paper if that helps. And you can just follow that edge of that line. So I'm going to do this. And then make his little arms. There's one on this side and then the one on this side. It's okay if you go in the road a little bit because he is kind of close to the road there. And then my last one is right here. And I'm going to follow that guideline. I just won't see it. It'll go off the edge of my paper. So I won't see the whole shadow on that one. And there you go. There is your desert sunset 1-point perspective. I hope you had a great time with this project. And if you complete it and would like to send me a picture, I would love to see what you created. So thank you for joining me today. Bye-bye.